Talk. I'm your host, Dr. Mohammed Ittifaq. I hope you're doing okay. You're doing well. So I'm on a live through my cell phone, not through OBS Studio or anything. But we're just gonna discuss a little bit about climate crisis, or you can say mismanagement of water. What is going on in Iran? So I'll be looking around my screens. I have two screens on my left and right to kind of open some of the resources and some of the information I will be talking or sharing with you today. So thank you for joining live wherever you're joining us from. And this is our first very live on Science Talk, talking about Iran's ongoing water crisis. And you may have been hearing a lot, here and there from the media, from your friends and people from different regions and countries. So we're gonna walk you through a little bit about how it happened, what is going on, and what's the future look like for Iran and for other countries, and is it sounding an alarm? Good idea right now because Iran is a country which remains in the news for different reasons, but this time it's not. Because of war with Israel or any other countries. This time it's another issue, which is maybe climate change or ecological disaster, or you may be hitting something different. So let's talk about that. So first of all, we're gonna just check what is if you just simply Google Iran's water crisis, and to me, what is showing on as a Wikipedia page that water scarcity in Iran, and which shows from its because of the climate variability, its uneven distribution of water, it's also over exploitation of available water resources and prioritization of economic development, and that's how Iran get into this situation where they are today. And of course, that is exacerbated because of climate change. So let's talk why Iran is suffering and also what is happening with their groundwater depletion. From Wikipedia, what I'm reading right now, it's between 2002 and 2017. The nationwide groundwater recharge declined by around 3.8 millimeter per year. And according to some research from 2022, it shows that Iran lost about 211 and 34 kilometer, it's not square, it's like total water storage, which is kind of twice Iran's annual water consumption. It's a lot. Between within 2003 and 2019. So, like around maybe 16 years, they have like kind of lost their almost a lot of water, but the water scarcity of course is the result, they say it's according to two physical water scarcity and psychological water scarcity. Physical water scarcity is because adequate natural water resource to supply a region's demand, and economic water scarcity is a result of poor management. So in a nutshell, you can say Iran's current climate crisis is twofold. One is because of climate change, the other is the mismanagement, poor management of water resources Iran has been dealing over the last almost not even a decade, but maybe longer than that. So here, what we are seeing almost is that right now they are at a situation where they're saying that maybe Iran needs to move its capital city, which is almost more than 15 million people in that region. And we all know it's not easy to move 15 million people. So overall, like if you see more about the problem, of course, World Resources Institute (WRI) has ranked Iran overall most water stressed countries in the world. So they are the most water stressed countries in the world. The country falls under the extremely high category on the water stress index, where 80 to 100% of renewable water resources are withdrawn annually. This means that Iran is utilizing nearly all of its available water supply for agriculture, industry, and domestic use, leaving little to no buffer for periods of drought or variability in rainfall. So, in general, Iran has been dealing with this crisis for a long time, but it actually didn't make to the news much as it just make the news now. And I think according to Scientific American, which is a great magazine, you can read the headline is Iran's capital is moving. The reason is an ecological catastrophe. So this ecological catastrophe is that Iran has poorly managed its water, and the second that there is some documentaries on YouTube, and if you go on YouTube, literally say Iran's water crisis, you will see 10 years old videos where experts who are not within Iran but outside Iran are studying agriculture system, water resources, Iran as a territory, or the Middle East in general. That it has this issue. They have been facing this issue for a long time, but they never paid attention, or they never thought that it might go that bad. Even though there was some realization at the top level that it would be they would be okay, but now they're saying that there is no water, and the country faces the worst drought in 60 years, so almost more than half a century. It's kind of almost this November it happens when Iranian president was forced to make a startling admission that now the weather we're looking at the weather pattern and the decades of mismanagement, the country now cannot be in a worse situation which they are now. And they say the quote is, we are running short of water. If it doesn't rain, we in Tehran must start rationing, he said. So that's the even if we do ration and it still does not rain, then we will have no water at all, and they must, meaning citizens, must evacuate Tehran. It's an old civilization, it's an old country, it's a beautiful country, but due to the mismanagement, their rivers are drying up right now. And even though at this moment, if you look at the statements from the officials, they, I mean, again, they're saying that we're in a worse situation, but nobody's talking how they get here, right? So, for example, they didn't ran out of water within a day or two or a week. It's kind of took them a long time, where this reality is kind of unfolding right now, and it's kind of countries do bankrupt, but this time Iran situation, they like the bankrupt in water, which is called water bankruptcy. It's called one of the ABC article from Australia calling it Iran's government is citing a number of different factors leading to this point. Rainfall across much of the country is about 85% below average, with the worst drought conditions in about 60 years taking hold. So, decades of mismanagement of natural resources, of course, the construction of too many dams. I think there was a news saying they have 600 dams. And now, people from my home country, when we see a lot of flooding this year in 2025 in Pakistan, they were saying that Pakistan need more dams. So now people from Pakistan, they should look at the conditions Iran is facing right now, that they have more than 600 dams. So they are still, couldn't store that much water. And then, of course, too many dams, lack of enforcement, and there's the water mafia in Pakistan. One of the largest city, Karachi, has a lot of water mafia there too. So they have a lot of water mafia when it came to drilling illegal wells, have combined with insufficient agriculture and adverse weather conditions to lead to this crisis. So, of course, like the richest city of Iran is Tehran, most politically powerful city. Of course, more than 15 million people there, facing like almost day zero in a few days or a few weeks. They are saying the director of UN, United Nations University Institute for Water, Environment and Health, told ABC that the taps might completely dry if there is no rain. That's the situation right now. In reality, what they are going through, it's sad, it's bad, and who's going to suffer? It's the poor people, people of Iran. They're going to suffer, and the rich, powerful elite, they will be fine. They're not leaving the country. They're not going anywhere. It's mostly people, children, women, elderly, or people who have any kind of conditions. They are going to be suffering it, right? So In July 2025, this year, a few months ago, many Iranian senior experts and officials they issued warnings saying that the country's water situation is very bad. It's very bad. And now, for example, there's a doctor he's a professor at water resource management at the University of Tehran, warned of an apocalyptic scenario in the water sector, stating that only 2 to 3 weeks remained to prevent the final disaster of a nationwide drinking water shortage. So they're not just talking about water within, there, but of course, like, yeah, somebody's saying presumably it won't stay the richest for long. Yeah, without water, that's true. But again, they're resourceful people, they're rich people, they can afford things for days and months, maybe, or maybe for years, I don't know. But it's again poor people, and this apocalyptic scenario may not only stay within Tehran, maybe the whole country will face that problem, and that is going to lead to more unrest, civil war, maybe, or some other issues. That's why a lot of climate experts and scientists talk about this climate crisis. It's just like a multifold. It's a crisis which, like, a threat multiplier, that it doesn't only talk about water, food, agriculture, but maybe civil war, or maybe other issues. And the people or the experts are saying that the lack of coordination between responsible institutions is one of the main cause, one of the main problem. And then there's another professor saying that Iran no longer has water reserves to withstand years of drought, and the agriculture in the country has become completely dependent on annual rainfall. So if the country, overall dependent on annual rainfall, and they have hundreds of dams and still could not survive or cannot survive for a few days or weeks, and they are saying the government is responsible for this condition, and farmers, of course, and failure to implement agriculture insurance or any of those systems. But in general, it's a failure of everything. It's a mismanagement of resources. It's kind of not listening to the experts. It's like not managing your water, agriculture, food, and the farmers or anything. So in this context, I think this should be a wake up call for the world, that some experts, including the official call, maybe it's just apocalyptic optimist person, that maybe if this is happening in Iran, next could be Pakistan or Bangladesh, or I don't know which country, or somewhere in Africa. Now there's another question: is it like unprecedented that they're gonna move their public or maybe capital city to another city or location? It has happened before in the history. Few countries have, I think, moved their capital cities before due to various reasons, but I don't know if any city before. Do you know? Maybe like put that in a comment or something, that maybe if some countries have changed their capital or moved this many people within this time frame, within few weeks, where they ran out of water. So it's a water bankruptcy in Iran is real, it's unfolding right now. And I think maybe their Minister of Energy, they're saying that to refer the situation as a water crisis and emphasize that Tehran is facing its worst water resource situation in the past 100 years. So you can imagine that if this situation never happened in 100 years, but it happened now, it might happen again in 10 years or 15 years. And what would be the mechanism to prevent that? I don't think there would be one. If they would have been, like active in managing those things, they might have not been in this situation. And I think, according to the saying New York Times, they're saying that Iran is on the brink of an unprecedented crisis in its water resources, a crisis that could lead to the complete depletion of the capital's water reserves and collapse of water infrastructure within just a few weeks. Just in a few weeks, Jakarta due to sinking? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. So, I mean, there are a lot of, countries who should be alarmed, and should be concerned, very concerned, what is going on in Iran. And there's another study which shows, according to the survey September 2025, found that 75% of Iranians blame the water crisis on domestic mismanagement and inefficiency, while only 14% attribute the crisis to the natural factors, and just 4% international sanctions. So there are people who are saying it's a complete mismanagement. There are people who are saying that this is a natural factor like climate change, global warming, no rain, long lasting droughts. And then there are people who are saying that it may be because of international sanctions. So, climate definitely, rainfall in Iran, I think, is highly seasonal, rainy season between October and March, and they haven't seen rain, and now they're like, I think, looking for alternative methods like cloud seeding and other methods, which of course may, kind of help them for temporarily, but it's not going to solve the problem forever or for next 50 100 years. But extremely dry conditions, seasonal variation in flow characterize Iran's rivers. For example, there are Karun River and Khuzestan carries the water during periods of maximum flow that 10 times the amount borne in the dry periods. So if you just look at, Wikipedia page of water crisis in Iran, you will see climate change, drought. There are different lakes, environmental factors, water availability, water usage as well, where they are most like kind of lost 5 billion cubic meters of groundwater annually due to over extraction. So they over extracted their water. Now there are some people who might think like, you know what, like it's a natural resource. People like it never ran out of water or anything. But guess what? It is happening right now in front of our eyes in 2025 when literally we just ended conversations on COP30 conference of party which happened in or took place in Belém, Brazil, and still not talking about the role of oil, gas, and fossil fuel companies and how to phase out from fossil fuel. And Iran, produce a lot of oil. We all know that it's one of the biggest producers in the Middle East, in that region. And of course, the infrastructure, the migration. There are a lot of people who talk about climate refugees, environmental migration. That this worsening conditions, of course, it affects industry, it affects agriculture, it affects urban water supplies, a lot of things. So in general, if you just look at like literally Google three words Iran water crisis, three words on Google, and you will find all different reasons, but it all come back to, of course, mismanagement, corruption, and of course, climate crisis or environmental or ecological degradation of the country. And it doesn't, again, it did not happen over really, overnight or over a week. It has been, going on issue, and they ignored the problem. Like we are ignoring climate change right now. Like literally, countries are ignoring the devastating impacts of climate change everywhere from the west to the east, and we cannot get countries on board to phase out from fossil fuel and also how to deal with it, because today's Iran, next it might be somebody else, it might be another country. Don't think that today it's just a mismanagement or climate change, it's happening in Iran, who cares in the Middle East what's happening, or it's a country too far, we're living in the west, in the US or in Europe and anywhere else. Maybe it won't happen here, it will happen if we do not do anything related to climate change and also water, agriculture, and other resources. So that's like mostly what Wikipedia says. Now, if you go on YouTube and look at the videos which talk about Iran's climate crisis, and literally there are 10 years old, 15 years old videos where experts have been telling us that this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and none of these officials or government people paid attention how to deal with the ongoing drought, how to deal with managing water, how to get rid of maybe water mafia, which is a huge deal in Tehran, for example. And now BBC, a few days ago, again, every headline you see, DW, BBC, Al Jazeera, as the dams feeding Tehran run dry. Iran struggles with, a dire water crisis. That's Al Jazeera saying that 90% of its water on a low yield agriculture in a pursuit of self sufficiency that exacerbates drought. So, all different media outlets are saying, different things. Dry spells, of course, everywhere. That Iran is now grappling with its sixth consecutive year of drought. So it's been 6 years the drought is ongoing, and while heat waves push temperature above 50 degrees Celsius. So people who are in the West, you can calculate like 50 degrees Celsius. And of course, there has been crisis before, but right now, I think what they're seeing, there's like, most of the five major dams feeding Tehran from nearby mountain ranges, that's what is happening. No improvement in sight, of course. Like, how can there be an improvement within a few days or weeks or months when this issue has been ignored for years, not for years, for decades, right? So a professor of civil and environmental engineering at Tufts University in Boston saying the situation will deteriorate unless the country receives substantial rain and snowfall in critical regions. So if there is a snowfall, hopefully, right, hopefully there is a snowfall, and hopefully there is the rain in critical regions, so they will see a little bit more water. But again, otherwise, human toll, both economic and social, will be severe, he told Al Jazeera. So, a professor from Tufts University, talking to Al Jazeera on that, quote that water scarcity is already fueling local tension and protests. And again, that's another issue, right? So, the country people do not have water, and they are again worried about the regime change. They're worried about people. There is going to have unrest. If you were so concerned about people not, protesting, or like kind of going against your regime, give them what they need, and they need water. You don't have water, so what are they going to do? So it's absolutely going to escalate the situation, and of course it is going to broad overall social conflict, as a major economic hardship. The country is already not doing great in terms of economics. Another professor said that reports on Saturday that state will, imminently start rationing water, which fully at off at night across the country if necessary. So the whole night you do not have water. So what if there's an emergency at home? What would you do? So that's the report from Al Jazeera. That's what other media is saying. Scientific American, again, Iran's capital has run out of water, forcing it to move. So maybe they will move, and no longer will be Iran's capital, a city which is vibrant, beautiful culture, food, everything. But again, look, going on YouTube, for example, Iran's, water crisis. If you are like right now watching me, and you can Google by yourself what Iran's water crisis on YouTube, it's like literally there are videos from 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Everybody's talking right now, including myself, but like, I mean, I started doing this podcasting a few months ago, so like, I mean, it's natural for me to talk now. But like, if you see all the images of lakes, dams, countries heat and everything which is showing, it's literally frightening the way they're saying that this crisis is going to be, impacting a lot of people, millions of people in Iran, or maybe the whole country, in the future. And of course, like, the political elite is worried about the consequences in terms of social unrest, which is understandable. But on the other hand, millions of people don't have water. So if the prices of water goes above price of oil, yeah, of course, like, I don't know, maybe aqueducts might come back. I don't know, maybe we will see how it goes. But right now, like, you go on, like, look at the news, you look at Wikipedia, you look at YouTube, you look at anywhere, wherever you can, to check, their water situation. It's scary, it's scary as hell, honestly. And we are sitting here, I mean, I'm sitting in the US, right? So most of you watching from the West, probably, And it might not look like, it's happening, it's here or anything like that, but in reality, honestly, it's scary as hell, and we should all be worried about what is happening over there, and we should be talking to our, maybe, our people here, or like thinking more about climate change, or a lot of other issues. So that's like the situation right now. I'm just looking at my other screen to see what are some other discussions going on. Reddit is saying, like, again, the conversation is that they ignored the warnings from experts. They did, and that's mostly happened, unfortunately, in a lot of countries, regardless you are, rich, poor, you know, developed or developing country. It happens that politicians, policymakers do ignore experts, and that is unfortunate because they think that they're sounding the alarm and they're alarmist, and it's not, the situation is not as bad. But look at Iran now. And overall, Iran's economic situation is not great. Their political situation is not great. Their relationship with neighboring countries is not ideal, right? So if any of these things are, like, all of these things are bad, how could you afford not to have enough water for your own population? So I was thinking, like, yesterday, day before yesterday, before I did this live, that what to look at, it's like, yeah, my read the day water becomes a pretext of war, it is tense. Yes, of course it is. It can escalate, conflict and war and social unrest, because people would be looking for water, food, and other things to survive. That's literally their survival. And if they can't, find water, they might, revolt against the regime or the government. And instead of, like, saving your regime, you should be thinking about saving your own people. You should have been, like, dealing with your mafia more effectively. You should have been, like, not as corrupt as you are right now. That might have been a different situation. So um yeah, I mean, again, yeah, just wait for the aquifers to dry up. The gray satellite maps and water levels dropping are bad. Yes, absolutely. You're looking at satellite images to look like literally, it's a frightening images. You see how dry the conditions are, how their rivers are drying up, how they do not have storage of water in these 600 dams. I don't know, it's a small country. 600 dams are a lot, right? So they started, like, building these big, maybe big beautiful dams, I don't know. Just kidding. So maybe, I don't know, I think in general, people in the west or anywhere should be very concerned what is happening in Iran. We should all be talking about it. It is partly mismanagement. It's partly climate change. It is maybe, I don't know, other ecological reasons. Political stuff is there, and some reports I think did show. I don't know if that's true or not. That during Israel Iran war, they're saying that actually Israel did hit some of their water facilities. I don't know if that's true or not, or maybe critical infrastructure for water management and other things. So this is pretty much the situation right now. They have dams. I mean, they're like, they couldn't store water. Does it say anything about quality, salinity of the remaining water? Ours is full of, full. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I haven't seen. I think they're pretty, like, 93% improved quality water they normally have, but there is some which shows that they do not have, quality water. It's just like 3% or something, or less than 10%. They normally have, like, good clean water, but they over extracted water from the ground, and now they're facing this situation, which happens a lot and quite often with many countries. I think Pakistan last year was talking about, like, oh, maybe we are gonna become, a water scarce countries, and which has been a discussion. But now we see, kind of this year, a lot of, floods. So I don't know. Maybe they're not talking much as they've been used to. It's drinkable. Yeah, it is drinkable, but I don't know. But yes, this is like normally this is what is going on right now. Just to pay attention to what's going on in Iran, and it's not gonna stay there. I feel bad for Iranian people. Feel bad for the country because again, it's a beautiful country. It's a really nice culture, food, people, everything. But now we are seeing that this is happening in Iran, and it might happen somewhere else. But this is pretty much it for today. That's just kind of seeing what is going on and what could be. I don't know what could be done. Honestly, that could be another future conversation. That what is happening, what could be done, because it is going to take decades. It is not going to happen overnight. It's not going to take few weeks or months. It's going to take decades to build that infrastructure, or to have more resilient communities, or maybe to do something where they do not have long-lasting droughts, which last for 6 years, 6 consecutive years for a drought. It's a huge deal, and it's like it says 83 million people in Iran. I don't know. It's not that big of a country, but still it's a large enough country to be concerned that might be millions of people who flee the country or want to leave the country or go to neighboring countries, or maybe go to other parts of the country. And do they have enough infrastructure to support them there? I don't know. That has yet to be seen, what will happen and how will they come out of this crisis. I think maybe this is awakening moment for Iran, that hey, we are in this situation. We have to get out of this situation, and we need to do something. And what would they do? That may lead to lead by an example, like saying like this is how we get out of this, and show the world that we can do it, and they're resilient, and their government would wake up, and there might be kind of a moment of realization or aha moment for Iran right now, what is going on. So that is it. But thank you for joining me live today. I appreciate you guys so much. Just if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, share, and like this video and share with others. But that's pretty much it. What is going on? It's like a crisis, just not because of climate change, but it is also because of their mismanagement of water, over extraction. We cannot keep digging and digging and digging, and we cannot keep using natural resources forever. And they're not forever. They are limited, and these countries should realize that these are limited resources, and they should manage them well. Otherwise, they will be facing such a situation or scenarios in the future. Today is the water, maybe another day's food. Food, maybe agriculture system. So the everything is linked. It's not just kind of their water is not there, and the food or agriculture system would be okay. It won't be okay. There won't be any agriculture. They won't be able to grow crops for years and decades, and that might lead into more water scarcity, food insecurity, and they might have to import a lot of crops and food from other countries, and that would be more expensive, of course. And Iran doesn't have great relationship with many countries. So that's the situation. They should have realized it, and how it is happening because of oceans and clean water and overall climate change, global warming. Yes, it is playing its role, but mostly it's mismanagement, over extraction, corruption, and mismanagement, and as well as water mafia. I don't know how it's very strong, they say. That's what has been showing in the news. That is happening other parts of the world too. So that is it for today. Thank you again for joining and participating through comments, and joining me and asking some questions and putting your thoughts in the comment. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much again. Take care and have a wonderful evening.